Penguin Random House Audio presents The Poison Squad, one chemist's single-minded crusade for food safety at the turn of the 20th century, by Deborah Blum. Read for you by Kirsten Potter. I wonder what's in it. We sit at a table delightfully spread and teeming with good things to eat, and daintily finger the cream-tinted bread, just needing to make it complete a film of the butter so yellow and sweet, well suited to make every minute a dream of delight, and yet while we eat we cannot help asking, what's in it? Oh, maybe this bread contains alum or chalk or sawdust chopped up very fine, or gypsum in powder about which they talk, terra alba just out of the mine. And our faith in the butter is apt to be weak, for we haven't a good place to pin it. Annatto's so yellow and beef fat so sleek, oh, I wish I could know what is in it. The pepper, perhaps, contains coconut shells, and the mustard is cottonseed meal, and the coffee, in sooth, of baked chicory smells, and the terrapin tastes like roast veal. The wine which you drink never heard of a grape, but of tannin and coal tar is made, and you could not be certain, except for their shape, that the eggs by a chicken were laid. And the salad, which bears such an innocent look, and whispers of fields that are green, is covered with germs, each armed with a hook to grapple with liver and spleen. The banquet, how fine, don't begin it, till you think of the past and the future and sigh, how I wonder what's in it. Harvey Washington Wiley, 1899. Cast of characters. This account of Harvey Wiley's life and his battle for the enactment and enforcement of the United States' first national law regulating food, drink, and drugs includes many people whose lives or careers intersected with or influenced Wiley's. Among them were all U.S. presidents from Chester A. Arthur to Calvin Coolidge. Others included Jane Addams, the Chicago activist and reformer, co-founder of the nation's first settlement house, also co-founded the National Consumers League. Nelson Aldrich, this powerful and wealthy U.S. senator, a Rhode Island Republican so influential in government that the press nicknamed him General Manager of the Nation, was a friend to many major corporations and strongly opposed the idea of regulating food and drink for safety. Russell A. Alger. As Secretary of War, he somewhat reluctantly ordered investigations into the food that had been supplied to Army troops during the Spanish-American War. Robert M. Allen, the chief food chemist for the state of Kentucky, was an outspoken advocate of pure food legislation and a valuable Wiley ally. Carl L. Alsberg. Succeeding Wiley as chief of the USDA Bureau of Chemistry, he continued to pursue many of his predecessors' key cases, including lawsuits against the Coca-Cola Company and the producers of saccharin. Thomas Anticell. This early USDA chief chemist investigated food adulteration during the 1860s and found it a problem, but acknowledged that there was no mechanism for regulation. J. Ogden Armour. The heir to founder Philip Armour's Armour and Company Meatpacking in Chicago, he, like his father, opposed food safety regulations. The company was the basis for Upton Sinclair's fictional Anderson Food Processing Company in his best-selling novel The Jungle. Ray Stannard Baker. A muckraking McClure's journalist, he advised his friend Upton Sinclair on proposed revisions to The Jungle. Jesse Park Battershall. Author of a leading book, Food Adulteration and Its Detection, the 19th century chemist blasted processors, bemoaned the lack of regulation, and described home purity tests that could be used by anxious family cooks. Albert Beveridge. A progressive Republican senator from Indiana, he played a role in pushing pure food legislation, especially the Meat Inspection Law of 1906. Willard Bigelow. The lead chemist for the hygienic table trials, also known as the Poison Squad, he was a dedicated ally of Wiley's and a dedicated chemist, once described as a man of blue blazes and sulphurous smokes. Charles J. Bonaparte. The U.S. Attorney General under Theodore Roosevelt issued a key ruling agreeing with Wiley on whiskey labeling requirements. George Rothwell Brown. A Washington Post reporter, he made the Poison Squad experiments famous, but also wrote fake news stories about them. Joseph Gurney Cannon. The powerful and corrupt Speaker of the House opposed regulation and battled with Wiley over proposed pure food legislation. Russell Chittenden. As a Yale physiologist, he warned against some additives, but on the Remsen Board, established after passage of the 1906 law, he was often a pro-industry defender of preservatives. Norman J. Coleman. As Commissioner of Agriculture in Grover Cleveland's first term, he was a Wiley ally who initiated investigations into food purity. Peter Collier. Wiley's predecessor as chief chemist clashed with the Agriculture Commissioner. Angry at being replaced, he orchestrated attacks on Wiley in an attempt to get his job back. C. A. Crampton. A chemist on Wiley's staff, he authored a report that found potentially dangerous doses of salicylic acid in alcoholic beverages. Chauncey Depew. A reporter's tale of corruption by this senator from New York, a wealthy former railroad lawyer and a friend of Theodore Roosevelt, caused the president to lash out at the muck-raking press. Grenville Dodge. A Civil War veteran and businessman, he headed the Dodge Commission investigation into allegations of adulterated Army rations during the Spanish-American War. Henry Irving Dodge. The writer worked with Willard Bigelow on The Truth About Food Adulteration, a high-profile series for Woman's Home Companion magazine. Frank Nelson Doubleday. The publishing firm founder somewhat reluctantly agreed, at his partner's urgings, to publish Upton Sinclair's novel The Jungle. Herbert Henry Dow. The founder of Dow Chemical Company opposed pure food legislation and complained that Wiley ran a disinformation campaign against chemical additives to food. Frederick L. Dunlap. An ambitious, politically minded academic, he was appointed associate chemist as the Agriculture Secretary sought to undermine Wiley's authority. Finley Peter Dunn. The humor columnist, through his fictional character Mr. Dooley, poked fun at President Roosevelt's combative habits, including the president's reaction to grisly details in The Jungle. Charles P. Egan. Army Commissary General during the Spanish-American War, he became enraged at accusations that he fed embalmed beef to troops. Mark Hanna. A businessman, political operative, and U.S. Senator, he became a close ally and advisor to President McKinley. Henry J. Heinz. The food processor and founder of H.J. Heinz Company, advocated for pure food and decent working conditions, developed a preservative-free commercial ketchup recipe, and actively promoted his products as the safest in the country. Albert Heller. A Chicago manufacturer, he vigorously defended food preservatives, especially his product, Freezine, which used formaldehyde to slow decomposition of meat and milk. William P. Hepburn. An Iowa congressman, he led efforts in the House to pass a pure food law and co-sponsored the Hepburn-McCumber Bill, which preceded the 1906 law. Weldon Hayburn. The U.S. Senator from Idaho chaired the Committee on Manufactures from 1903 to 1913.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?